We all know the saying, buy the dip, but which dip is the tastiest to buy? Well, of course, that's guacamole. But when it comes to Bitcoin, everyone says to buy every single dip, and eventually most people run out of their dry powder, leaving them not being able to purchase the tastiest dip of them all. So in this video, I want to take you through finding one of the tastiest dips that you can with your Bitcoin or cryptocurrency purchases. That, of course, always in crypto leads to that life-changing generational wealth that we're all here for. So before we dive into the tasty dips, smash the likes, subscribes, bell notification icon, and of course use the links in the description down below so that you don't get scammed by those pesky scammers on Twitter and on Instagram. I only have one official account. Those links are down below. And of course, if you want to learn more about trading and investing long-term for that life-changing wealth, check out our Patreon link down below in the top of the description. Limited places available. Okay, let's click on and kick on with the video. I'm going to start with Bitcoin dominance because we are trending underneath our 50% levels. So we want to get to the point of looking at these dips for Bitcoin. And it's going to lead into some Wyckoff accumulation and distribution patterns and understanding the different bars and the volumes. And of course, I like to look at the total market caps as well. So the dominance here is sitting at around 43%. And at the moment, we're sitting underneath our 50% levels. So these are our GAN 50% levels, which means if it's on the underside here, it's weak. If it's on the upper side, which is up here, then it's stronger. And you can see we had a small double top here at around that 44.5, and we've just been rejected from that point, and now we're under the major 50 and the minor 50 as well. So until Bitcoin can get above that point, then it looks like we might get some strength over into the altcoins. So, we're looking at which dips to be buying here. And at the moment, Bitcoin is looking a little sadder than most. If we look at the Google trend words, I've got US in this case. Normally I look at worldwide. We're looking at the last 90 days. And really the first time in history, crypto is becoming more searched than Bitcoin. So I'm leaning towards more of the cryptos to be buying in this dip. And I want to go conservative, and we'll look at that in just a second. So crypto is becoming more popular. You can see from the last, call it 5 years, red is crypto, blue is Bitcoin. And when this pops up, we've always been Bitcoin dominant, but now crypto, the search term crypto, is becoming far more dominant. And it's looking like we might overtake the Bitcoin search term, which just leans more towards more retail coming in to look for those massive cryptocurrency gains. We look at the total market caps, and we've just dipped underneath the previous all-time high set back in May. But we're on a double bottom here. This is all of the market cap. So provided Bitcoin and everything sits up where it is, if Bitcoin stays where it is, then we're going to get that flow on into altcoins as well. So when the market dips, we want to get those tasty dips on some of those altcoins to get those bigger gains, of course, if we want to get that life-changing wealth, the way it works. So the previous top, 2.57 trillion, we're sitting above that at the moment and potentially forming a base. And that's, of course, what I want to see in order to get this flow-on effect and more money feeling comfortable flowing into altcoins. And looking at the dominance, just going back, we saw this with altcoins over the last few days. Many of the strong altcoins weren't losing their BTC value. Of course, they lost their USD value because Bitcoin dropped, but they were holding up against their BTC value, which leads me to believe, of course, in my opinion, that people are still not running for the hills when it comes to their altcoin portfolios. So that's still holding up pretty well. Total looking all right. We're still above the previous all-time high. We could grind away here, which is fine. And if we look at total 2, which is all the market caps except Bitcoin, of course, this includes Ethereum, then we could start to see some of this money flow into the altcoins. Total 3. Now, this is all the altcoins except Bitcoin and ETH. And this is also looking pretty good. We're just underneath the all-time highs at the moment. So what we want to see in the next, say, few days to few weeks is for this to start to climb above and close above so that we see the strength return. The meaning of this is if we're closing above previous resistance levels, then that just means that there's strength in the altcoins, or at least in the major altcoins, because the majors are going to make up this total market cap. Before we dive into the dips on Bitcoin, of course, what I'm looking at on ETH, those low dip buying opportunities. Today's sponsor is Margex. This has been a sponsor of the channel for the last couple of weeks, and these guys have got a Black Friday special at the moment. Now, I bring them up because they do have a trade anonymously No-KYC exchange. So some people are looking for these places to trade cryptocurrencies without inputting their personal data, because we are seeing many of the centralized systems, the centralized exchanges getting hacked and personal data being leaked. Emails, addresses, names, phone numbers. So these guys are No-KYC. So if you want, check them out. Link is in the top of the description. What they have going on is a $50,000 giveaway prize pool. This, of course, is for Black Friday. So check out the links to see the dates of when all these prizes are given away. And you've also got a 20% bonus if you just deposit. Not talking about trading, because you definitely want to have a trading plan if you were trading on leverage. Between the 26th and 28th, deposit around, say, $2,000, you get your 20%, so an extra $400 bonus. Now, make sure you check out the terms and conditions when it comes to these promos. Again, I'll leave the link in the description down below, and you'll get your sign-up bonuses if you use that link down there. Now, let's take a look at Bitcoin, and we'll look at the Wyckoff schematic here. The important part is looking at each of the pieces of the puzzle, getting into the dip buying. Now, I've gone through and labeled up the current schematic on Bitcoin, and you're not going to know until the whole round or the whole play is over. But I've got my levels here, which I like at the moment. I'm using these areas to give me signs of weakness, the reaction. We've got stopping volume and supply volume. So if we come back here, have a look, we've got automatic reactions, secondary tests, sign of weakness, last point of supply. Basically, we've been told to buy the dips October, and again in early November, and again in November. But which ones are the tastiest? And looking at this, and then I take into consideration the total market caps as well, just to give me an understanding of where we currently sit overall. The market seems pretty strong, so I don't want to be catching a falling knife on the way down into a bear market. So my macro view is that we're still going to go up in the longer term. So even if we get this wrong, it's probably not going to be too bad in this point of the market. However, I want to be that maybe a little bit more clever and get something a little bit lower. So we've seen time frames of 1, 2, 3 days down, 1, 2, 3, 4 days down, and now we're into our 5th day here, and we're getting the reversal on lower volume, which is not the best sign. However, it looks like we've gone through a bit of this Wyckoff distribution test already. So we can see the preliminary supply on the peak here. So we're going up, and then we have the BC, that is our buying climax. Then we have our automatic reaction, our secondary test, sign of weakness. That's the main one that I look out for. Our upthrust, the UT upthrust. This is after the distribution, so it's upthrust after distribution, and the last point of supply. So we come back over to the chart. I've got this on a smaller time frame as well, because they happen on all time frames, but you want to be looking for them on the major time frames. So once I've seen a lot of these Wyckoff distribution patterns play out, then I start to look for time counts, and then I start to look for times or dates in the market as well. And we've been looking towards that 19th to 22nd of the month, which we've talked about plenty of times on the channel. And of course, you want to overlay your moon cycles here. Then our moon cycles are also starting to line up with some major turns. But I know a lot of people don't like to use these. We just look at the dates. The dates are really important here, and we've got a pretty good range playing out. Now, we haven't confirmed that this is the final low, but it's a better low, it's a better dip to be buying than the previous dips up here. Now, of course, the difference here is about 10%, and we're looking for the life-changing wealth that's apparently abundant here in cryptocurrency. And of course, I do believe that. There's definitely the possibility to get this life-changing wealth. That's going to stop us from buying these ridiculous dips, which are only a few percent. And then you see the secondary test. You can see the volume getting smaller. That's what you want to see when it comes to the Wyckoff pattern. So secondary test, volume and spread should thus decrease as the price approaches the resistance area of the buying climax. As an example, you can see this starting to approach the buying climax again. You've got the buying climax on the bigger time frame here. The secondary test, it's just getting into that buying climax, and then you see it drop into the sign of weakness. This is the trading range of the distribution, and then we wait it out. So the dip, the tasty dip to buy, is if we can be patient. We're currently 30 days from the first buying climax into this sign of weakness with multiple supplies, last point of supplies showing up on the chart, and then we can start to get into our position of buying. Talking of buying, I'm putting this out to our Patreon members and of course TIA Premium members as well, putting trade alerts about my Ethereum buying. And this is where I was buying Ethereum over the last few days. This is all posted to the members there as well. And I was using the patterns on Bitcoin, using what's going on with the total market caps. More importantly, using what I see on the dominance and how this is also playing into the altcoin versus the Bitcoin pair. And I'm seeing the strength in ETH BTC. Also posting this on Twitter and Instagram. So if you're not following over there, use the official links down below as well. Of course, I can be wrong, but I need to use what I can see in the market because as with all traders and investors, we do not have the information on the right-hand side of the chart. That side is still blank. And we are trying to understand where this is going in the future. And we just have to use the past to give us an idea of what's happening in the future. So I like the sign of strength, or I like the strength in the ETH BTC chart. Bitcoin looks a little weaker to me than Ethereum. However, it's still holding up pretty well using the Wyckoff schematics and of course the Gann analysis when we're looking at the swing ranges. So we still have the major swings are up and at this point slightly undecided, but the major trend is still up as well. Our 50% levels are holding in play. You can see we bounced off our first 50%. Our next 50% is down at around $49,000. But if I bring it back to our 21st low, we're sitting around that 54 and we've come quite close with that. So a lot of these pieces are lining up, which gives me the strength and the understanding in my plan to then go and buy the conservative altcoins that I'm interested in this case, Ethereum, on these dips. Now, of course, if I'm wrong and we dip lower, then I've got my next 50% levels. I come back to my Wyckoff schematic charts and I come back to the dominance to see what's going on overall, whether the market is starting to crap the bed and everyone's fleeing altcoins, or if they're looking to remain in their strong altcoin positions, obviously not the weak stuff, but remain there so that we continue to buy those more tasty, juicier dips rather than every day that the market goes down. Generally, that's what happens in cryptocurrency. It's one day down, people freak out. Don't worry, buy the dip. Another day down, don't worry, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. And eventually people don't have anything left. So hopefully that's given you an idea of what to look for when it comes to buying a good tasty dip. The way I like to bring in time, I bring in price, I bring in chart reading, volume, and the pattern of the chart, piecing all those together so that I'm not caught out buying every single dip on the way down and I'm just looking for the tastiest dips. Of course, like I mentioned, I can be wrong, but over time, this has proven to be a far better method for my style of trading. So if you want to learn more about that, check out the link to Patreon down below. And of course, join us in TIA Premium to learn more about trading. Links are all in the description down below. I'll see you guys at the next video. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Until then, have more fun to get more done.